when you're not around, when you throw that to the side.
Out of the car.
Yo, Star, you okay?
Go back where he told you. Khalil, I'm not playing. Go back where... What did you do?
Thank you guys so much for joining me. The film, I hate to say it was a great film because it ripped my heart out and like made me emotional and made me cry, but it was so very well done. And I think you both kind of play two sides of social activism, the person who gets inspired by it, and unfortunately the people that are victim of its ramifications. So talk to me about having to represent those two kind of sides of social activism.
I think something about it felt kind of meta because we're making this film about police brutality, about a character who is standing up to it. And through the film, we're hoping to protest police brutality. Yeah. So in that way, you know, I felt like both of those experiences were feeding into each other, just working on this film, defending its integrity, protecting the character and the authenticity of the character so that we can make something that speaks to these issues with authenticity. And then playing this character who has to find her voice. I mean, I felt like very often inspired by Star. And I felt very grateful to be able to play her because I learned so much from her.
Well, for me, I've kind of just been saying it over the weekend a lot, just coming to the realization. I think understanding that I was put there to just be a vessel, just to speak and just to help bring some type of peace or some type of understanding, some type of beginning of restoration to the families that have gone through that exact same thing, or the brothers that have lost brothers, or whatever type of loss you've had. I think for me, it was just understanding that, moving myself out of the way, and just being open.
Garden Heights. Mama and Daddy says our life is here because our people are here.
For those of you that are parents or soon-to-be parents, I just want to ask you, is this now, seeing The Hate U Give, seeing films about activism, is it something where you feel like you have to have a dialogue with your kids about it now?
Oh no, that was way before
yeah.
the movie.
And so what have you changed now, do you think, about having your conversations with your kids about activism and just like social engagement and just how they've kind of changed the way that they view the world as far as like getting on social media and talking about these issues?
Well, I'm gonna make sure that my kids have those conversations and communicate those issues everywhere but social media. Oh, wow. I think the best contact is human contact. I think social media has led us to a point to where we can't relate to people, and that's why people lash out, because we don't know how to communicate.
Wow. What about you guys?
I'm just going to empower my kids with information and empower them with the knowledge of self and wisdom and understanding about who they are, where they come from. And then it's going to be up to them to make the decision as to what kind of activist they choose to be. That's all you can do. And I think that's what Mav and Lisa did as parents. They just empowered and their children, gave them knowledge, and then whatever comes forth, whatever they grow into, that's who they are.
Yeah, what about you, Regina?
I mean, I don't have kids, but I would imagine that, with my nieces, I would probably caution them against social media. I would definitely want them to create their own way of thinking, their own mind, and try to, empower them with knowledge, with education that they could make their own kind of informed decisions from, instead of reading what somebody who doesn't really know that much about anything is saying.
Yeah. And there's no responsibility.
And there's no responsibility.
Today, Garden Heights is reeling after the shooting of a 17-year-old black teenager by a white police officer.
We live in a complicated world.
It doesn't seem that complicated to me.
This is a young adult book adaptation, and I feel there's always going to be things that don't translate from the page to the screen and vice versa. So I'm going to ask you, Angie, what was something that was added to the film that you felt was richer and that you enjoyed more? And then George, what was an aspect of the book that you kind of regretted that you couldn't include in the film, but you still really liked it?
One aspect that I really wished I would have included in the book is how the film really focuses on the theme of thug life through Sakani. It slipped my mind. I didn't even think about it, but the film did it in such a powerful way. I really do. I called my editor and I was like, so I know we're going into another printing. Can I go add that in? And she's
wow.
No.
I was like, oh, we got new footage now.
No, but that was so well done and it's so powerful, and it really, really brings the theme in that people can understand it and they can visualize it and feel it through this kid. So that's definitely
I love that.
Well, I think it was for us, it was great because we were having that conversations early on. So we were always saying, you know, Angie, what if we take this character away and then put a little bit of that in 7, reduce a couple things? So we had that conversation. If I was making a 3-hour movie, maybe I would say some of the stuff that maybe in the the community where there's a lot of characters that was around Mav's store. But I felt like we had all that with the guys that we had, at Ruben's Barbecue or Mr. Lewis Barbershop. Those guys are around, and I think it's so powerful that the family have this conflict: should they move out of the neighborhood or should they stay? And we see how that's resolved. So I feel very happy with what we came up with.
The high school is where you go to get jumped, high, or pregnant. We don't go there. Williamson is another world, so when I'm here, I'm Star version 2.
Yo, those kids are lit.
Basically, Williamson Star doesn't give anyone a reason to call her ghetto, and I hate myself for doing it.
Tell me about how you guys kind of came to the material, if you got it after you found out about the movie or before.
Well, I received the script before reading the book, and I read the script and I was just so moved by the story that I had to pick up the book. And also I just knew that I just really desperately wanted to be a part of the project. So I'm really happy that it ended up going my way.
Yes, I didn't know about the book at all, actually, and then I did a self-tape and I booked it, so I went right to Barnes & Noble. Picked it up, and when I picked it up, a girl was like, "I love this book," and I was like, I'm gonna play Kenya in the movie. She was so excited. Yeah.
Cool. I didn't know about the book, but I read the script and immediately fell in love with it, and then went on to read the book.
I read the book before I read the script.
Yes.
But
I'm like, please, somebody.
And obviously, I loved the character Haley, and I wanted to play her so badly. So,
I was just about to say, I don't think so.
Yeah. No, but yeah. So I mean, once I was able to like finally be a part of it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. Yeah.
Because all of you guys are great, but I want to say that you're an amazing actress because I hated you so much. You're so lovely though now. Speaking of which, I feel like this film sort of like embodies activism for young folks. Like there's an entire generation of folks coming up where activism is kind of like they're coming of age, and this kind of book and this film I think will represent that. For you guys who are, just, so far removed from that, but what was a film or a book that kind of defined your coming of age? Like when you were 16, what was something that you saw where you're like, this was my 16-year-old life?
I saw a documentary called The Black Power Mixtape.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I learned about Stokely Carmichael and Angela Davis, and I didn't go natural in my hair yet because I was scared, as for black women and girls, it's a really tough thing. And when I saw her rocking her afro, it empowered me to have my own and just do that. Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man. When I was young, actually, one book that was really impactful for me just in my life was The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And I remember reading that book when I was, I think, like 16 or 17 or something like that. And it changed my life. You know, that book is really big on manifestation and kind of like just willing something into existence and like
putting it in the universe.
Putting it into the universe, and the universe will conspire to help you get that. And it was just like, that was crazy. That was just crazy.
And everyone has their own personal legend.
Yeah.
What about you?
I would say the same. That just reminded me that book to me was literally changed my life after I read it.
Crazy.
I think for me, honestly, music was a huge influence for me, and like what you said, like finding your voice. I think there was a lot of artists, which obviously the film is so heavily inspired by Tupac, and I don't think the film could have been, or the book obviously could have been created without the influence of music. So I think that there were so many artists with so many different messages. It's hard to pick one, but I think that was a huge part of finding my own voice as a young girl.
What is a piece of music, a book, a movie from your coming of age?
Oh man, Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Marauder.
Honestly, it's Pac's Trapped. They got me trapped in this prison of seclusion, happiness living on the streets is of delusion. Even a smooth criminal one day must get caught, shut up or shot down from the bullet that he bought. You know what I mean? It's just, that just takes me back into that idea is that, there's nowhere safe.
Oh, wow, that's a great question.
Do the Right Thing, for sure. Really defined me, my understanding of film, the power of film, what it can do, what it can make you feel. Also Beloved by Toni Morrison is one of my favorite books. I talk about it all the time because it really was defining for me, and it still continues to be.
Another one would be Love, Simon.
Awesome, love that.
I loved Love, Simon.
Yeah. What about you? It's a connection with this.
Yeah.
Coming up in a new book or something?
Well, in The Hate You Give to the characters in Simon and and thug are related.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to say the hate you give. You know,
Okay,
right?
that's easy. I'll let you take that one.
When you ready to talk, you talk. Don't ever let nobody make you be quiet.
I ain't named you Star by accident.